All right, I get these Mindvalley ads so much and they really annoy me. And so I kind of had to do this video. I thought it would be a fun one. But I also felt it would be fun to explore some really important themes in the whole kind of spiritual world. Some of the popular things happening specifically around the manifestation type stuff. Okay, so a few years ago I did a meditation app review. And because of that, I will often get people reaching out, asking me to do reviews. And Mindvalley first reached out and asked me to do a review. And when I first saw it, I was like, no, not for me, like not my vibe. I'm not, so I didn't reply to the email. But then I found out that this lucid dreaming teacher I really like, named Charlie Morley, was on Mindvalley. And I was like, oh, Charlie Morley is actually cool. I really respect him as a teacher. I respect the work he's doing. And so I was like, well, if he's on there, maybe it's worth checking out. So I checked it out. Half of the reason I checked it out was just to check out his content, see what he was doing on there. But I was really curious who else was on there. And I did find some other teachers I really like on there. Specifically, Ken Wilber had a course on there, and I like Ken Wilber for a lot of reasons. I was really curious about it, but man, that guy does not know how to put together a course properly. That's always been an issue. Like about 15, 20 years ago, he released this kind of integral practice thing. When I was like 21, I bought it, and it was pretty terrible. So I thought maybe things had gotten better since then, but it wasn't the case. There's another guy I like on there, Nir Eyal. He wrote a book called Indistractable, and I thought it was a great book. I thought it had a lot of really great insight and kind of strategies to honing our focus and to being more focused in life. So I was like, okay, maybe I can get him bored with this Mindvalley thing. Let me check it out. But the reality was I really didn't like it. Now, if you're a Mindvalley user and you like it, great, because I think there are actually a lot of really great things about it, and I'll get into that. I will get into like the positives, the things I was impressed by, but let me start by talking about the things I didn't like. Now, one thing I didn't like is the kind of really pushy marketing. The guy who runs it, Vishen, that guy can be really obnoxious, and he comes off very disingenuous, right? Like, I really don't feel he's really being himself. He's like this motivational speaker. He's making all these big, lofty promises about transformation. And one of my pet peeves is when people make big promises around transformation. The reality is, if you've worked in this world long enough, I've been in this world of healing and whatnot for basically 20 years. I've been in so many therapy groups and healing groups. I've explored it all. I've done countless psychedelic, like ayahuasca retreats, all of that. I've seen people have amazing healing and also people not get the healing they were hoping for, even when they're working with like the very best healers. And what I've learned from that is you cannot make promises because people are really complex. You don't know what every individual is dealing with. And so making them a promise is really irresponsible, because if they don't heal, if they don't get better, then that is just going to make them feel even worse. Then they're going to feel like, oh, now it's my fault. I'm the problem, right? They're going to blame themselves. And so we really, really have to be careful about making promises for people around transformation, around healing, because we don't know what their problems are. Some people are just going to have to struggle for longer amounts of time than others. And that's just a reality. And promising quick transformation is really deceptive, manipulative, irresponsible, or ignorant, right? So it's either you're ignorant or you're deceptive and manipulative and irresponsible. I don't know which one is worse. Either way, you don't want to be taking advice from that person. So anyone who promises healing and promises transformation, I would say run from that person. So that was the first big red flag for me, is all the promises made by Vishen and all the kind of advertising materials. He's very kind of like smug and like, you can do it. Like it will happen for you, but he can't make those promises. So then when I actually logged on, I was looking for let's say Charlie Morley, and he's really not featured. And he has really great content. Like, I think Charlie Morley's a really great teacher. You should check him out. He teaches lucid dreaming. He's a student of Tibetan Buddhism. He's in a lineage in that tradition. He's a very capable teacher, and he's doing work lucid dreaming with PTSD to help heal PTSD, and he's doing studies with veterans. I think his work is awesome, and I really respect him. And so that's why I kind of feel bad about crapping on Mindvalley here, but I will. So first of all, they don't feature his stuff, or at least it wasn't featured to me. I had to go deep and really try to find his work on there. So I think that's a big problem with it, is that the good quality stuff they do have on there isn't featured. And all the featured stuff, there were a lot of programs that were really recommended to me and were continually featured to me. And that stuff I found to be not great content. So the first thing is there's a lot of stuff around this, like manifesting, making your dreams come true. You know, you can manifest any life you want. You can manifest whatever job or partner or blah, blah, blah. Again, this is in that area of promises. And what I really don't like about it, one, it's very salesy. And two, manifesting has to do with control. Buddhism and a lot of the real kind of spiritual traditions are around acceptance. Right? They're around coming deeper into our experience and letting go of all these egoic desires, right? Seeing that our ego creates problems through desires and learning to release ourselves from those desires, release ourselves from the avoidances in life to come more fully into our experience. And when we do that, there's more wisdom, right? We tap into a deeper wisdom, what we actually need, right? We have these egoic desires, these egoic ideas of what we need to be happy, and those things will usually not make us happy at all. And usually those things are very, selfish, ego-driven. They're not in the benefit of the collective good. And when we get past our egoic desires and we get into our wisdom is usually in the collective good. It is usually aligned to make the world a better place. It's not just trying to make us more rich or famous or comfortable, or not setting up a life of personal luxury where we feel like super important, but it's really about feeling connected, right? And when we get beyond our egoic desires, we can come into our wisdom and start to feel a deeper sense of meaning, right? Like not just an egoic sense of meaning, but like a real deep sense of connection and meaning. And want to contribute to the world in a meaningful way, not just want to be, rich or famous or validated. So a lot of these manifesting, teachers and people and books and whatever, they don't address this, right? They just say, hey, whatever you want is great, we're going to help you get it. And that's a very salesy thing, because often what we want, again, is coming from an egoic place and isn't actually in the best interest. Like, it's not going to make us happy. And we have to look at, people who do get extremely wealthy or extremely famous, they're typically not very fulfilled people. They're typically not very happy people. And yet we all have this feeling like it will make us happy because validation feels good. And when we make a bunch of money or get validation from the world, there is like this kind of ego boost. There's a bit of dopamine and we feel good and we assume more of that will make us happy, but it won't. These things are always fleeting. They're like addictions. We get a little, we will never get enough. And we're just feeding our ego and we're taking ourselves down the wrong path in life. And I really think a lot of these manifestation people who preach manifestation are just trying to capitalize on people's egoic desires and really leading them more astray instead of leading them into a deeper recognition, a deeper connection with themselves so they can, dig deep and find, well, what am I truly interested in? What is truly meaningful to me? What will truly make my relationship with the world more meaningful? Like, these are the things that we need to be exploring, not how can we, be more rich or whatever it is that they're trying to preach or they're trying to sell to you, really. So this is my big critique of just the whole manifestation stuff in general, and Mindvalley is very guilty of having that kind of content on there. So that's my first major critique, and probably the big one, probably the reason why I'm like not vibing with it in general, is because it really promotes teachers or people who are putting that message out there and who are not leading people down a genuine or authentic spiritual path. So that's my first kind of critique. Now, that being said, it's not all bad. There's actually some cool stuff on there. So if you're on there, or if you want to explore it, there are some great teachers on there doing cool stuff. Like I mentioned a few before, there are I'm sure a lot more on there now because they're constantly adding content. And what I really like about the platform is actually there's this whole community element to it, where when you sign up for a course, there are course start dates, and then there's like this whole interface where you can kind of comment, and after you do a lesson, you can start a discussion around the lesson. I think that is super awesome. right? So I think it's really great that they have this platform where people on it can interact, kind of like a Netflix, but it has a social component for like courses. And I think that's great. Like, so they actually get like a huge like thumbs up from me in the kind of social interaction component that they have on there. I have met people actually who use Mindvalley and like it, and I get it. So again, if you use it and like it, or if you're curious about it, like I'm not knocking it, like I'm not saying it's a horrible platform. I'm just saying the way it's promoted and a lot of the stuff they feature, I think is misguiding people who may need real, guidance on a spiritual path, who may be looking for a genuine spiritual path, and is absolutely not offering that. Now, content-wise, it's pretty whatever in the sense of pretty much everyone on there is an author, right? So they've written a book, and all of their books go far more into depth than their course goes. So the courses are really broken down into these little incremental chunks that make them really easy to do and digest, but they don't go into the same depth as the book. And so this just depends what your preference is. If you really want to learn something like in depth and really want to explore it in depth, just buy the books, read the books, learn from the books. But a lot of people don't. A lot of people just give me the important stuff. Give me the step-by-step so I can start to kind of actualize and create change in my life around this issue. And if that's you, then the course is awesome. And for me, it just depends on the topic. Some topics I really do want to learn in depth, so I want to get the book. Other topics, I just want to know the thing right away, and I just want to be like, no, just give me like the core practices or the core thing. And so I really do appreciate that they make a lot of stuff very accessible through the platform by breaking it up into very small chunks, very small practices. And in that sense, I think it's great. So the whole thing, though, is that it's very expensive. And so this is a whole relative thing, right? Like if you make a lot of money and, $500 a year or whatever it is for membership is not a lot of money to you, then sure, it's worth trying, and you may be able to find some courses on there. In fact, if you search, you'll probably be able to find some courses on there that are really great and resonant. Whether it's worth the money, though, is up to you, and that's the whole thing. If you're a motivated learner, if you just want to learn things on your own, and you don't have a lot of money, then it's probably not for you. But if you have a lot of money and you want to take advantage of the courses and stuff they have set up, then it could be great. So I'm definitely not knocking anyone again who uses it, because I do know that there are some good people and good material. It's just a lot of the stuff I came across there felt very disingenuous, felt kind of weird, felt like maybe people were looking for some real guidance in their life journey, looking for more meaning, and it was just not helping them in that sense. So that's my big critique. That's what I think of the platform. I was given one of those things where I can do a promo code where you sign up and then I get some kickback. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to link to them at all, because I really can't wholeheartedly recommend it. Although, like I said, some people it might be really good for. Yeah, that's my general view. If you want real spirituality, real spiritual exploration, hey, I got a YouTube channel. Check out my content. That's really what I'm pushing towards, is real healing, real growth, and real spiritual exploration. I'm also writing a series on Substack now where I'm profiling a lot of my favorite meditation teachers who are teaching awakening in really innovative ways. So yeah, if that stuff is into you, stay tuned. Check out my Substack, and good luck on your journey. Thanks for tuning in.